Two Arsenal transfer stories. One made global headlines and cost them nothing. The other barely got any attention and cost £75 million. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which one actually mattered and why almost everyone got it backwards. Here is something most fans do not realize about Arsenal right now. They have quietly become one of the most useful clubs in world football, and it has nothing to do with trophies. It is about what happens the moment their name shows up in a transfer rumor. Somewhere along the way, elite agents figured out something clubs like Real Madrid should have seen coming. You do not need Arsenal to actually sign your client. You just need people to believe Arsenal might. That belief alone, the mere threat of a move, has become one of the sharpest tools in modern football. It gets used to squeeze bigger contracts out of nervous boardrooms, to force clubs into panic mode overnight, and to quietly rewrite the pay structure for some of the best players alive. But while the world was distracted by a transfer that was never going to happen, Arsenal was somewhere else entirely, closing a deal that was completely real. £75 million. Real risk, real money, real business. So today we are putting both stories side by side. The phantom deal that made headlines everywhere, and the real deal that barely made a dent in the news cycle. Stick around, because by the end, you will see exactly why one of these mattered 100 times more than the other. Let us start with the name everyone already knows. Vinícius Júnior. Reports started circulating that Arsenal wanted him. No official bid was ever made. No formal contact was ever confirmed. Just rumors floating around, gaining momentum on their own. And here is the part that should genuinely surprise you. Arsenal never needed to make an actual offer for those rumors to do their job. Think about it like this. Imagine you are in a relationship, and one day your partner casually mentions that someone asked about you. Nothing happened. Nobody did anything wrong. But suddenly you are lying awake, reevaluating the entire relationship, aren't you? That is essentially what happened inside Real Madrid's boardroom. Vinícius was already one of the best players on the planet, a Champions League winner, a La Liga champion. But behind the scenes, there was a problem nobody was talking about publicly. He was not being paid like the best player in the world, especially not compared to his own teammate, Kylian Mbappé, who was sitting on a completely different wage tier. So when Arsenal's name started floating around in the papers, it was never really about Arsenal at all. It was about leverage. Real Madrid was not panicking because they genuinely believed Vinícius was about to move to North London. They were panicking because the rumor handed him, and the people around him, the perfect opening to say, "Pay me like my teammate," or "Watch this story keep coming back." In the world of negotiation and finance, this has a name. It is called a market signal. You do not have to actually buy the house to make the seller nervous. Sometimes all it takes is showing up to the open house, asking a few pointed questions, and leaving your number on the table. That alone is enough to change the price. And that is exactly what this rumor was built to do. Nothing more. It worked beautifully, just maybe not for the club everyone assumed. So what did Real Madrid actually do to make all of this go away for good? They did not simply hand him a modest pay rise and hope the story died down. They gave him a release clause worth €1 billion. Read that back. 1 billion. That is not a typo, and it is not a price tag either. A number that extreme is not designed to represent what a club believes a player is genuinely worth on the open market. It is designed to do something else entirely. It is a lock. Real Madrid was not setting that figure so someone could eventually pay it. They were setting it so that nobody, realistically, ever could. Here is a simple way to picture it. Imagine a landlord who does not want their best tenant to ever leave. They do not raise the rent just to push them out the door. Instead, they structure the lease so that breaking it becomes financially unthinkable. Nobody walks away from a deal like that. That is precisely what this release clause accomplishes. It was never meant to be paid. It was meant to be impossible. And here's the part that matters most for our story today. What did Arsenal actually walk away with out of any of this? Nothing. Not a single pound, not a single pence changed hands. But that, strangely enough, is the entire point. Arsenal's real payment here was never going to be cash. It was reputation. Every single time a global superstar gets linked to Arsenal during a tense contract standoff somewhere else, it reinforces one very specific message across the entire footballing world. Arsenal is relevant enough to be feared. And that kind of perception is advertising you simply cannot buy with a transfer fee, no matter how large your budget is. Now, while all of that noise was playing out around Vinícius, Arsenal was quietly doing something far more important on a completely different front. Something that barely made a single headline anywhere. They were going after Bruno Guimarães. No leaks to reporters, no dramatic rumors designed to shake up somebody else's contract negotiation. Just old-fashioned, unglamorous business. Identify a target, study him properly, go and actually get him. Guimarães was never a mystery to anyone who was paying attention. At Newcastle, he had racked up 195 appearances, contributing to 31 goals and 32 assists. But maybe more importantly for a genuine midfield engine, he ranked inside the top 5% of the entire Premier League for progressive passes, ball recoveries, and fouls won per 90 minutes. In plain, simple terms, he was doing all of the unglamorous defensive and creative work that actually wins football matches, even when nobody outside the club was watching closely. There was a release clause sitting on the table too, £100 million inserted into his contract back in October of 2023. But that specific clause expired in June of 2024. So Arsenal did not panic and rush to meet the full number while it was active. They waited patiently, they negotiated properly, and they eventually landed him for somewhere around €90 million including add-ons, which worked out to roughly 75 to 77 million pounds. Picture it like haggling a car down from the sticker price because you happen to know the dealership needs to clear inventory before the end of the month. That is not luck. That is patience and preparation quietly meeting the right moment at the right time. And here is a detail that most fans completely miss. Lyon, his former club, still walked away from this deal with a payday of their own. They had negotiated a 20% sell-on clause when he originally left years earlier, meaning they collected over €8 million the instant this transfer was finalized. That is essentially the footballing version of a landlord who still gets a cut every single time their old tenant flips the apartment for a profit down the line. No trending hashtags, no outrage on social media. No debate shows arguing about it for a week straight. Just a genuinely real transfer, executed properly, that actually made the football club stronger on the pitch where it counts. So let us put these two stories side by side, because the contrast tells you almost everything you need to know about how modern football actually works. One of them trended worldwide, dominated back pages for weeks on end, and directly helped a Real Madrid superstar secure one of the single biggest contracts in the history of the sport. Arsenal's actual role in all of that? A rumor. Nothing more than a name in a newspaper column. The other deal barely made a ripple outside of transfer deadline day coverage. No outrage, no viral debate clips. Just Arsenal quietly spending £75 million of real money to sign a genuine top-tier Premier League midfielder on a contract that runs all the way through 2031. Headlines chase noise. Boardrooms chase value. Those are two completely different games, and most fans watching from the outside only ever see the first one play out in real time. Being linked to a global superstar is a lot like a nightclub with a line stretching all the way around the block. It does not mean anyone inside that line is actually getting through the door. It just makes everyone standing outside assume the club must be worth getting into in the first place. And that perception genuinely is valuable. Do not get that twisted. But it is not remotely the same thing as actually building something that lasts. The real skill in football's transfer market was never being mentioned in a rumor. Honestly, anyone with a contact list can leak a name to a journalist by lunchtime. The real skill is converting silence into signings. Doing the unglamorous, unheadlined work of identifying the right target. Negotiating carefully around an expired release clause. Satisfying old sell on obligations from years earlier and getting a genuinely good player through the door for a fair, sensible price. Arsenal proved, in the exact same transfer window, that they were capable of doing both of these things at once. But only one of those two deals actually changed the football club going forward. So let us go back to exactly where we started this video. Two Arsenal transfer stories, one made global headlines and cost them nothing at all. The other barely registered any attention whatsoever and cost £75 million in cold, hard cash. Here's the verdict, plainly stated. The loud deal made Arsenal look powerful in the eyes of the football world. The quiet deal actually made them better on the pitch, where results are decided. Vinícius Júnior will almost certainly never wear an Arsenal shirt in his career, but Bruno Guimarães will be running Arsenal's midfield all the way through 2031. And that, right there, is the real lesson hiding inside every single transfer window that comes and goes. The deals that make the loudest noise are rarely the ones that actually matter in the end. The transfers that genuinely build a football club almost always happen quietly, while everyone else in the world is busy watching the wrong headline entirely. If you want to see exactly how elite clubs weaponize rumors as pure leverage and how to actually spot a real, genuine deal before it even happens, subscribe now, because we are breaking down the next one very soon.